Are you absolutely kidding me right now? The Atlanta Falcons are actually considering trading Kirk Cousins, the quarterback that just paid $180 million to less than 2 years ago. Because a rookie looked decent for a few games? This is not just bad decision-making. This is organizational chaos masquerading as strategy. And I am genuinely stunned that we're even having this conversation. Let me break down exactly how insane the situation is. In March of 2024, the Falcons gave Kirk Cousins a 4-year, $180 million contract with $100 million guaranteed. That's not backup money. That's not veteran insurance policy money. That's franchise quarterback money. That's you are the face of this organization money. And now, barely 18 months later, after one injury and a few rough games, they're supposedly ready to cut bait and move on? What kind of message does that send to every free agent who's considering signing with Atlanta in the future? Here's what actually happened, and let's be honest about it. Cousins started the 2024 season strong. The Falcons were 6-3. They were in playoff position. Everything was going according to plan. Then he got hurt against the Saints, an elbow injury that derailed his season. The team lost 4 straight games. Michael Penix Jr. stepped in, played competently, and suddenly everyone's acting like Cousins is washed up and expendable. But that's not reality. That's recency bias mixed with rookie hype. And it's exactly the kind of emotional decision-making that destroys franchises. Let's talk about Michael Penix Jr. for a second. Because everyone seems to have forgotten that he's a rookie. Yes, he showed poise. Yes, he didn't completely fall apart when thrust into action. But we're talking about a handful of games, most of which came in low-pressure situations or against teams that weren't exactly playoff caliber. And based on that limited sample size, the Falcons are supposedly ready to hand the keys to the franchise and move on from a proven veteran who's been one of the most consistent quarterbacks in the NFL for the past decade. That's not confidence in your young player. That's gambling with your entire season. And here's the part that makes this even more ridiculous. The financial implications. Cousins has $27.5 million in salary that someone would have to take on. He has a no-trade clause, which means he controls where he goes. And the Falcons would still be on the hook for a massive dead cap hit if they move him. So even if they find a trade partner, even if Cousins waive his clause, Atlanta is still eating a huge chunk of money for a player who's no longer on their roster. That's not smart cap management. That's lighting money on fire because you panicked. Let's also address the market for Cousins. Who exactly is lining up to trade for a 37-year-old quarterback coming off an injury with a massive contract, who would only waive his no-trade clause if guaranteed a starting job? The article mentions mid-tier teams in rebuilding mode. But let's be real, rebuilding teams don't trade assets for expensive veterans. They draft young quarterbacks and build around them. The teams that would actually want Cousins are contenders who need a proven starter. But those teams already have their quarterbacks or can't afford to take on his contract. So where's this magical trade partner that's going to give Atlanta value in return? The answer is there isn't one. And that means if the Falcons do trade Cousins, they're going to get pennies on the dollar. They're going to take a massive financial hit, get minimal draft compensation in return, and then cross their fingers that Penix Jr. is actually ready to be a full-time starter in one of the most competitive divisions in football. That's not a plan. That's a prayer. Now, some people are arguing that keeping Cousins as a backup is too expensive, that you can't justify paying $27.5 million for insurance. And you know what? In a normal situation, I'd agree. But this isn't a normal situation. This is a situation where you just gave a massive contract to a quarterback who's proven he can win games at a high level, and now you're considering benching him permanently based on a few bad weeks. That's not about the money. That's about admitting you made a catastrophic mistake in how you handle the transition. And let's talk about what keeping Cousins actually provides. You get a veteran presence in the locker room. You get someone who can mentor Penix Jr. and help him develop. You get insurance in case the rookie struggles or gets hurt. You get a proven winner who can step in and give you a chance to compete if things go sideways. Yes, it's expensive, but you know what's more expensive? Handing the franchise to an unproven rookie, watching him struggle, missing the playoffs, and then having to start over again next year because you rushed the process. Here's what really drives me crazy about this whole situation. It's reactive instead of strategic. The Falcons didn't plan for this transition. They didn't sit down before the season and say, okay, we're going to give Penix half a season to develop, then make the switch. They got forced into it because of an injury, saw some flashes from a rookie, and now they're trying to justify a decision that was never part of the original plan. That's not good management. That's making up as you go along. And let's be brutally honest about the optics here. If the Falcons trade Cousins, they're admitting to the entire league that they have no idea what they're doing at the most important position in football. They're admitting that they gave a massive contract to a player they weren't actually committed to. They're admitting that their evaluation process is so flawed that they can't even stick with a decision for 2 full seasons. That's not the kind of reputation you want as an organization trying to attract top-tier talent. The smart move, the only move that actually makes sense, is to keep Cousins, let him compete with Penix Jr. in training camp, and make a decision based on performance rather than panic. If Penix clearly outplays him, fine, you have an expensive backup, but at least you made a decision based on merit. If Cousins shows he's still the better option, you have a proven starter and a developing rookie learning behind him. Either way, you're not making a desperation move at the trade deadline that handcuffs your franchise for years to come. But I have a sinking feeling that's not what's going to happen. I have a feeling the Falcons are going to get caught up in the hype around Penix, convince themselves they can get value for Cousins, and pull the trigger on a trade that they'll regret within 6 months. Because that's what desperate organizations do. They make emotional decisions based on short-term thinking, and then wonder why they can't build sustainable success. So here's my take, and I'm going to say it as clearly as I possibly can. If the Atlanta Falcons trade Kirk Cousins before the November 4th deadline, they are making one of the most short-sighted, poorly thought-out decisions in recent NFL history. They are throwing away a proven veteran, admitting organizational failure, and gambling their entire future on a rookie who's played a handful of games. And when this blows up in their face, and trust me, they'll have nobody to blame but themselves. But that's just my opinion. Do you think the Falcons should trade Cousins and fully commit to Penix Jr.? Or is this exactly the kind of panic move that sets a franchise back for years? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure you hit that subscribe button, because this Kirk Cousins situation is about to get a whole lot messier before it gets better.